Hey, what's up? Benji Bruce here, and I'm going to show you how to get a $10,000 speaking gig. And really, I'm going to show you everything that I do in my business to get all these gigs on the corporate stages. So, I want you to understand that getting gigs is like getting married. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that before you get married, there are several things that you have to do. So, maybe the two people they meet up with each other and someone's got to break the ice. They're at a bar. Well, someone has to talk to the other person, so they have to meet each other in the first place. Then, okay, maybe they go out on a date. Then maybe they move in. Then this happens. Then that happens. Well, there are several things that have to happen before you actually get married. But at any point, maybe if the guy is afraid to talk to the girl, well, now it screws everything up. Or maybe if they do talk to each other and they go out on a date, well, the guy all of a sudden says, you know what, I'm not paying for this, you pay for your own meal. And she doesn't like it. So, now they break up. They don't ever see each other again. So there are several things that can happen before the getting married part that can screw everything up. And the same happens with getting speaking gigs. There are several things that can happen before you get the gig that can screw you up, which will cause you to never get the gig in the first place. A lot of speakers, they say, oh, how do I get a speaking gig? How do I get a paid speaking gig for $5 grand, $7 grand, $10 grand? But they're not doing the things before what they should be doing to get that 5, 7, 10 grand gig. I'm going to show you the things that you need to do before you can actually get booked on corporate stages so you can actually get that $10,000 speaking gig. Like Sun Tzu said, every battle is won before it's ever fought. Everything you do has to already have been won before you ever do it. By the time the event planner contacts you, they're already convinced of hiring you. You don't need to convince them to do anything because you've done everything beforehand to convince them. So I'm going to show you what you need to do. First thing you have to understand is that people always research big ticket items before buying. When you're at Walmart and you're ready to buy a piece of gum, well, it's like $1, so you don't really think about it. You don't go on your phone and research which is the best gum to buy. You just say, you know what, this looks good, let me buy it. But when you're paying for a big ticket item, when you're spending $5 grand for 30 minutes, 10 grand for an hour, 30 minutes, or whatever, when people are paying for speakers, they do research. They don't just say, you know what, this is a speaker, looks kind of good, let's just hire this guy and let's get on with it. They say, okay, well, this speaker, let's really look at this guy. Let's make sure he's legit. So people always research big ticket items before buying. When I was doing a thing for Remax, they didn't just say, you know what, we heard about this guy, let's just hire him. They didn't just say, let's just give this guy 10 grand. They didn't do that. They did research before they actually hired me. This is an event I was doing out in Finland. They spent 18 grand, a little over 18 grand to have me out there. Now, before they did that, they didn't just say, oh, let's just get some random guy. They did research. They looked at everything that I had. They looked at reviews, videos, everything that I had, and then they said, you know what, this guy is perfect for our event. Let's bring him out here. So it's important to understand that that's how you really get the gigs. I mean, how does this really help you get the speaking gigs? Well, obviously, I'm going to show you exactly how. First thing you have to do is understand the mind of an event planner. So we're going to get inside the mind of the corporate event planners that are willing to pay you the 10 grand for a speaking gig. They're saying to themselves, how do I know this speaker is good? Like, how do I know? Not, I'm not sure. They want to know 100% sure that this speaker is good for our event. They want to know. So to get a $10,000 gig, you have to remove the fear of hiring you because they're afraid. They're saying to themselves, you know what? I need to pay this guy right now, but I won't know if he's good until after he's already spoken at our event. So do you see the dilemma that they're in? They need to pay you before you're ever at the event, but they only know if you're good after they've already paid you. So they have this fear. They're like, I don't want to just waste 10 grand on a speaker who's not going to be that great. And it's this fear that's holding them back from hiring you as a speaker. So you have to do everything possible to remove that fear. And I'm going to show you a couple things that you can do to do that. But basically, how do you remove the fear? That's what should be going on in your head. How do you remove the fear? You might be saying, okay, maybe a money back guarantee. If I say, you know what, if I don't do a good job, I'll give you your money back. And I remember a lot of speakers, they used to say, let's offer a money back guarantee. That is the worst way to remove fear from an event planner, because it doesn't actually remove anything. It doesn't remove fear. Think about it from the event planner standpoint. I bring a speaker on stage. I pay him 10 grand, 12 grand, whatever. I bring him on stage. He does a horrible job. And he says, you know what, sorry, I messed it up. Here's your money back. Well, the damage has already been done. I mean, they already sucked on stage. So as an event planner, I already look bad. So a money back guarantee doesn't remove the fear from hiring you in the first place. It only says, hey, I get my money back if you suck. That's all it says to the event planner. It doesn't remove the fear. Some people might say, okay, blog posts, let me give them content. I can give them content, and then they'll see that my stuff is good, and that way when I'm on stage, they'll know that it's really good. Well, the problem with this, well, there's several problems with it, but basically, just because you're a good writer doesn't necessarily mean you're a good speaker. So that's one of the problems. Another problem is that event planners aren't going to read your blog posts because they don't have time. They're more focused on doing the full event. They're contacting 10 to 20 speakers, and they don't have time to go through every single speaker's blog post to see if your content is good. And plus, they know that just because your content is good, that doesn't mean you're going to be great on stage. There are so many writers who have great blog posts and they write great, but when they get on stage and they start speaking, they're just flat out boring. So blog posts don't really remove that fear either. You need to basically say, what can you do that will make them 100% sure that you will be great? They need to be 100% sure that you're going to be an amazing speaker on the stage. You might say, okay, give value, give content. None of that really matters. I mean, I remember hearing it all the time. A lot of people would say, give value to your clients. And I would say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Give value to the clients. But then I was thinking, well, how do I get on stage in the first place to give value to them? How do I get on stage in the first place to give some great content to them? So that was the problem I was having. And it's a problem that you constantly hear. People always say, give value, give value. The thing is, how do you get on stage in the first place to give them value? So you need to really figure out how to remove that fear. When I figured this out, when I got on the stage, I figured it out. I was able to charge $5,200 to get me on stage for 30 minutes. I was able to charge them 12 grand for an hour. I figured out exactly what to do to remove that fear. So basically, you remove fear by creating context, not content, context. Think about it from this standpoint. Let's say the message is be persistent. You're a motivational speaker and you hear this all the time. Be persistent. That's the message. That's the content. Well, who do you think is going to get paid more? Who do you think is going to be invited to the event? Let's say the message is be persistent. Do you think the person who's just a normal motivational speaker is going to get paid more? They're the ones who are going to get hired for the event. Or do you think Bill Gates is going to be the one? Obviously, Bill Gates is going to be the one. You see, it's not about the content. The content is be persistent. The content, anyone can say that. Anyone can say, oh, be persistent. You need to just keep continuing. Even when people say no to you, just be persistent. Keep going. However, the value of those words change when Bill Gates says it versus when a normal motivational speaker says it. When Warren Buffett says be persistent, the value of those words change versus a normal motivational speaker. So it's important to understand that the context really, really matters. When I got on TV, I started changing the context around me, and now I started to persuade the event planners to hire me. Basically, you also want to be careful of what I call the event planner trap. The event planner trap, it is so good that almost everyone falls for it. Basically, event planners, they will tell you that they hire based on the message. They'll say, oh, we hire based on content. We look to see, does the message match what our event is about, what we want people to hear? Does the message match? And you will constantly hear that. That is the biggest trap that you can ever fall for, because it makes sense. You say, well, What better way to figure out how event planners hire speakers than to ask an event planner? It just makes sense. And when the event planner tells you, they're going to say, well, we hire a speaker based on their message. We need to make sure that their message goes along with our group. So that's what they're going to tell you. And hey, that makes sense. I mean, what better way to get advice than to ask the person hiring the speaker? However, and it's a big however, no one's going to tell you that I bought a Rolls Royce because it makes me look good. No one's ever going to say that. They're not going to say I bought a Rolls Royce because I'm super rich and I just want to show people how much money I got. No one's ever going to say that. If people just want to buy a car, then they'll just buy a Honda. If they want to go from point A to B, they'll just buy a Honda, a cheap car. But people buy a Rolls Royce because of social status. They buy a Lamborghini because of social status. The thing that you already know about is that people buy based on emotion and they back it up with logic. The same thing happens with event planners. Event planners, they pay for a speaker and they buy on the emotion, paying for the speaker on emotion. Then they back it up with logic by saying, oh, that speaker's message matches our group. You see, if message mattered, then Bill Gates would never get hired over a speaker. I mean, think about it. Why would you pay Bill Gates like $1 million or however much he would charge for speaking gigs? Why would you ever pay someone like him to deliver the message of be persistent instead of just hiring a speaker who has trained himself in presentation skills and he's much cheaper to deliver the same message? It makes no sense. Logically, it just doesn't make sense. If you're going to pay someone to deliver the message of be persistent, keep going after your goals and all that stuff, you would never pay someone like Bill Gates, someone like Richard Branson, all these hundreds of thousands of dollars. You would just pay a normal speaker who practiced presentation skills, who's a better speaker, and you would pay him to deliver the message. But it's not about the message. It's all about the content. Pay attention to what people do, not what they say. Everyone understands this, but very few people put it into practice. So it's important that even though the event planner is saying, hey, we look for message, they're not really paying for message. If they had to choose between Bill Gates and a normal motivational speaker, there really is no choice. They would always choose Bill Gates. If they had to choose between Donald Trump and a normal motivational speaker, they would choose Donald Trump, hands down. It's all about the context. You see, when I figured this out, you'll notice on my website here that the website isn't really about the message, it's about the context. You'll notice that I have pictures of me in front of the corporate crowds, me on TV, the logos of Fortune 500 companies. There's Remax giving a quote. Most of my website is all about the context that is around me as a speaker and as an entertainer, because that's what allowed me to charge over $10,000 for gigs. There are essentially 4 ways to create context when using video. There are plenty of ways to create context, but I'm going to show you 4 ways to create context using video. First, the 4 ways, there are reviews, publicity, stage clips, and then your demo video, which has everything. I'll talk about publicity, how to get publicity in another video, and I'll talk about your demo, basically how to make a killer demo video in another video. And your stage clips are self-explanatory. These are just you on stage just speaking, unedited. But the reviews, that's what I really want to talk about, your reviews, because reviews really, really, really matter. And it's also important that you use the word reviews instead of testimonials. Like when you upload your reviews to YouTube and put them on your website, put the word review instead of testimonial. And the reason for this is because think about what people do when they go on Google and maybe they'll search for a product or maybe they'll search for you. What they're going to do is they'll type in John Doe review or review of John Doe or review of product X. They don't ever type in John Doe testimonial, testimonial of this book. People always type in what other people are thinking, like what's the review of this. That's why you want to use the word review instead of testimonial. It's just a psychological thing. But if you ask yourself, how did P90X, you probably heard of P90X, how did it make 500 million? And I'm sure they've made way more than 500 million by now. But when they first came out, they made 500 million. And if you Google P90X marketing strategy, then the guy, Tony, I believe his name is, within, I think, the first 2 or 3, you'll see an interview with him. And in the interview, he says, what we did, the reason why we became so successful was because of the social proof. And your reviews are social proof. When P90X started posting pictures of the before and after, there's the guy who's chubby, now all of a sudden 30 days later he has a six-pack abs. When they started doing that, now they started selling like crazy. That's what the reviews do for you. When you start posting stuff like that, people say, this dude was just freaking amazing. That's what the reviews are doing for you. There are essentially 4 types of reviews. The first type of review is the presenter review. This is where they talk about how great you were. They say he was an amazing speaker. He was awesome. That's where they talk about you and only you.
And I just saw Benji Bruce and shut up. That was amazing.
Then there's the audience review. The audience review is where they talk about what the audience thought about you as a presenter. They say something like, you know what, when he got on stage, everyone loved this dude. This guy, he blew everyone away. He got a standing ovation. So they're talking about the audience. And event planners want to know this because they want to know how their audience is going to respond to you.
I mean, this guy wowed our audience, literally blew everyone away, including me. And that's tough. He literally leaves the audience with an amazing standing ovation.
Then there's the self-interest review. The self-interest review is very subtle. It's like a secret, it's a little secret type of review. It's something that the event planner gets, like a pride thing when, or an ego boost when someone says like, look, 100 people came up to me and they thanked me for having this guy at my event. So to the event planner, it's basically saying to them, hey, if you bring this guy to your event, so many people are going to come up to you that you're not going to be able to handle it. But what that tells them, it's like, hey, oh, I'm going to have this ego boost. Everyone's going to see that I did a great job by hiring this guy. So it's a self-interest review.
But at the end of it all, they all come back and they thanked me for having Benji at my event.
Then there's the social status review. The social status review is, it doesn't matter what they say, it's all about who says it. So if someone says he was amazing, then it doesn't matter if, it's much better if it came from Oprah versus from a random person. So the words themselves don't matter. When someone says he was amazing, it's much more valuable when it comes from Bill Gates. It's more valuable when it comes from Oprah. Or in terms of getting corporate gigs, it's more valuable when it comes from AAA. It's more valuable when it comes from Remax. So it's all about who says it rather than what they say.
I'm with Remax LLC.
I work for Remax LLC.
Ron Stokes, Remax International, one of the vice presidents here. We just saw Benji Bruce. Phenomenal.
Basically, videos remove the fear from hiring you. Videos create the context around you as a speaker, and it removes that fear. The event planner, they want to know, they want to be 100% sure that you are the right speaker. When they pay 10 grand, they want to be 100% sure that you're going to deliver. But they don't know that. So videos are going to remove the fear from hiring you. That's what the videos do. When I was on TV, when they see that you're on TV, that you have all these TV clips, or maybe they see that you've been on stages, you've already been on corporate stages with bigger audiences, things like that. They see that there are so many people who are talking about you, so many people who say, this dude is freaking amazing. When they see all that, there's only one logical conclusion that they can come up with. That conclusion is, he must be good. When there are so many people talking about you, you have so many reviews, when you have so much footage of you on TV, which is actually easier than you think about, than you realize, which I'll show you how to do in another video, and when they see that you've been on stages for other companies, all of this creates context around you, and it's much easier to charge 10 grand to have you on a corporate stage, because the only conclusion is that he must be good. Now I'm going to show you how to make a killer demo video in just a second, a demo video that gets you booked, and how to get publicity, which, like I said, it's a lot easier than you think. But you must realize that to get gigs for over $10,000, it's all about the context around you as a speaker. That's what the videos do. That's what your website does. That's what your demo does. And once you contact the event planners, they're ready to hire you. Now the next video is going to be talking about your demo video, basically how to create a killer demo video. A lot of times you hear a lot of guys, they say, look, all you need is some video footage of you recording with your phone and just a normal background, a nice background, and all that stuff. No, you need a really good demo video if you want to charge over $10,000 to get on stage. And I'm going to show you the exact steps, the exact process you have to go through to capture attention, keep attention, and get them to instantly call you after they see your video. Just remember, every battle is won before it's ever fought. Keep that in mind. Everything you do before you contact an event planner, before you get those $10,000 speaking gigs, everything you do has to matter. Everything you do will allow you to get that $10,000 gig. So just keep that in mind. Every battle is won before it's ever fought.